Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this video tells you all about the eclipse new moon of the 8th of April 2024 and how to do healing work. And so I suggest we each of us start setting a saying. April is going to be my month. My point is that actually the energies of the eclipse new moon are horrible, as I explained in my start video at the beginning of April, with its accompanying blog. But in this video and blog, I set out wonderful healing possibilities which can actually make the mantra, April is going to be my month, true. So make that your saying. Make it your motto, your affirmation from now till the end of April. And indeed, do the needed healing and revolution bringing work to make that affirmation happen. So yes, the point is that the energies of the eclipse new moon are horrible. And this is primarily because the eclipse, with sun and moon at 25 Vedic Pisces, occurs at the same time as the gathering to exact of the Mars-Saturn conjunction on the 10th of April at 20 Vedic Aquarius. And of course, the Mars-Saturn combination expresses horrendous anger and frustration. But it's not only that causes horrible energies. The new moons, Sun, Moon and Chiron, are all conjunct Rahu at 21 Vedic Pisces, bringing tensions and fear and driven energies to our minds. And also at this time, Mercury is retrograde at 0 degrees 36 Vedic Aries, deep in the immaterial energies of the Pisces Aries Gandanta, which Mercury is at this time retrograding through. So as I said, it's a special feature that Sun and Moon are conjunct Chiron. There is wound healing potential for each one of us. And let us try and bear in mind that the horrible eclipse energies can be used as a key to learning deeper about ourselves and what our strengths are and what we've got to heal. And then, centrally, to you bringing in your healing this April. And as I said, that's because this eclipse is conjunct Chiron. This eclipse can be used to bring your breakthrough to your Chiron existential wound now. It really is a wonderful possibility coming out of darkness. Sun and Moon of this eclipse are actually conjunct Chiron at 25 Vedic Pisces in the 27th nakshatra, Revati nakshatra. So the horrible eclipse energies can be studied, understood and worked with, and then used to gift each one of us our needed revolution. I use the words needed revolution because we are actually building up to the wonderfully powerful revolutionary breakthrough energy that is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, becoming exact at 27 Aries, exactly 11 days later on April the 19th. But also, I say it's a good time for vision and shamanic type healing and journey type healing, because Neptune is in Pisces. And the other planets of the healing eclipse are also in Pisces. And so in this video, it is visionary and shamanic healing work examples that I particularly set out, and they're not the only ones. Indeed, my wife Maggie Pashley, on her www.maggiepashley.com website, has been doing wonderful healings worldwide online for many years. So what I'm recommending to you, and what I've actually just started to do myself, is that you use Chiron-centered and the horrible super strong eclipse energies to focus on your personal Chiron existential wound as it appears in your birth chart. What is it exactly, your wound? How do you understand it to be? How does it manifest in your personality, in your life? What can you do about it? How can you heal? Those are the questions. And through doing this work, you will then have the intention, and you'll succeed in building your needed revolution with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction following. Now, the links to my video and blog post about April 2024 astrology energies are actually in the YouTube description down below. And the link to my April astrology monthly page for the charts and ephemeris, both the Vedic and Western astrology, planet movements, can also be seen in the YouTube description below. So what I will tell you now is where I have personally got to in my work with this Chiron-centered eclipse, and it's now gathering horrible energies. And I invite you to contact me for a reading where I will focus on your Chiron and offer similar healings appropriate to you. Or, of course, you can book one of my many other types of reading that are listed on my Star Wheel Astrology buy page. Now, if it's a Chiron healing reading that you go for, well, it can be at any time. It doesn't have to be at the time of this eclipse. Chiron is with us for life. But in your reading, I would examine both your Western and Vedic astrology centering on your Chiron existential wound. What is the wound that dogs you? What are the wound energies that dog you? What's the nature of your deep wound? How does it express itself? How are certain other planets in your chart also part of your Chiron existential wound? And then we delve deep into such as your psychodynamic Western astrology and your chart aspect shapes as well as Chiron. And also into the supreme declarations of your Vedic astrology, such as, well, firstly, your D60 chart. That's one of the Varga charts, the divisional charts of Vedic astrology. And the D60 states the karmas you had run up by the time you died, at the end of your last life. All the karmas you'd run up and the ancestral issues over your past lives. And some of those karmas and ancestral issues will stretch back thousands of years. It's wonderful stuff. I've done loads of it in the last couple of years, when indeed I was having my nodal return. And also, most importantly, we'd look at how your planets treat each other. That's using the wonderful Vedic astrology Rashi Avashta's method. Centrally, we look at which nakshatra each of the planets involved in your Chiron report is placed in, because nakshatras are a supreme declaration of ourself, our personality, warts and all, that we can bring spiritual growth and healing to. And lastly, we also look at your current dasha, that's your current Vedic predictive period, and much, much more. Obviously, you get the recordings, you can study them, you can send me questions afterwards, etc. But then, when we've looked at your charts, we discuss what can you do about it. And then we go into a healing. And as an example of visionary and shamanic type healings, I thought it might be helpful for me to share the healing ways I am using at this time, described below. I mean, in fact, I would say that in 1974, I completed a postgraduate psychology degree. But I would say also that the shamanic perceptions of our healing needs and potentials are much, much deeper than psychology formula. So what we would need to do is identify the details of your Chiron wound and then make it true that April is going to be my month. And we do this by studying the healer Chiron energies as they flow in your life. Then identifying, finding and walking a pathway to healing and implementing that healing now. But also identifying the step of revolution you need to work on and achieve now as Jupiter closes on Uranus, and what a wonderful combination that is. You need to make the step. You need to make the leap. And fueling this are the horrible eclipse energies. Because the horrible eclipse energies are gathering, and they will be reactivated by other planets as the other planets transit over or aspect the location of the eclipse in the heavens, that the eclipse energies will be reactivated. So it's so important to know what the eclipse energies are, to know what your Chiron type wound is, and to do the healing. And the eclipse energies are made so much worse because of the Saturn-Mars conjunction. As I said, it's full of anger, full of frustration. There's Rahu in it too, so it's driven, it's too much, it's overwhelming, it's all over the place. So okay, now I'll get to the actual healing that I personally started as this eclipse was gathering. And I'll continue it all April, and I'm feeling very good with it. And may some adaptation of this healing approach be perfect for you. Or maybe some similar healing pathway is perfect for you now. So it's a bit sort of embarrassing in a way, but I feel it's worth sharing and genuine to being authentic so as to share the healing which we all need at this time. So my first step was to review my natal Chiron. And of course my Chiron, as I know, is conjunct my Mars. It's at 7 Vedic Scorpio. So my Mars is wounded, and all the planets Mars interacts with, and all my Mars expression. Interestingly, I went to the Western Psychodynamic program and saw that Mars is the apex of a psychic eye chart aspect shape, with the base of the psychic eye being Sun Mercury on one side and Jupiter on the other. And my psychic eye, Mars, the apex planet, is inconjunct Uranus, so it seems very well favoured for the work of this eclipse to focus on my Chiron Mars as the eclipse gives way to the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the heavens. Now, looking deeper, in my Vedic Navamsha chart, that's the D9 Varga chart, or the D9 divisional chart of Vedic astrology. Well, it's the chart of our destiny force selected for this life. It's the chart of our relationship issues in this life. And it's the chart of our ideal ashram, or our ideal destination and way of being in this life. Now, my Mars is totally trashed by my Mercury in the D9, according to Rashi Avashta's analysis of how your planets treat each other. Mars trashes my Mercury from a raw strength of Mars is trashed by my Mercury from a raw strength of 311 strength points in my D9 to minus 193. So that's how I use Mercury is a big part of my Chiron wound. And incidentally, in my Vedic D2 chart, the second harmonic or second Varga chart, which is the chart of our value issues and gender issues, well, my Mars and Chiron are in the female sign Cancer, together with Venus opposite Lilith and Mars opposite Chiron. So this is such a wonderful time for healing quite a deep karmic challenge as well. I mean, underlying it is I never met my father until I was age 43, and then only once. But I'm so glad I did meet him. Yes, and hearing all about his life history and what happened to him, and indeed his father, my grandfather. So, I list these examples of my Chiron wound to show you something of the wonders of both Western astrology interpretation and the vastness of Vedic astrology interpretation. What a revelation they provide when you combine them, and I think I'm the only one in the world that does. Now, what I want to say by way of introduction is that I added Vedic astrology to my Western astrology 28 years ago. I added the Vedic astrology because I was so impressed about one Vedic astrology phrase I stumbled across. Because that one sentence told the whole of my fate and destiny as regards mothering. If you have moon in one of the three Gandanta zones, the transition from water sign to fire sign, particularly deep near the sign change centre of it, centre of the Gandanta, mother will not be there for you in this life. And how, true that was. You see, the Gandanta effect is one of immateriality, realising the immateriality of this world. But it can lead us to parting the veils and seeing the divine realm beyond. And of course, that's something that is very much central in Tibetan Buddhism and Hinduism and Vedic astrology. So, the details of how that wound clicked in are that my mother was a single 18-year-old girl in the UK, a foreign country, because she'd left her family of 14 in Ireland who couldn't support her to do Land Army Girl work, after the Second World War just ended, and the Land Army girls were housed in former RAF huts. But my mother, when I did in fact meet her, told me that she'd been expelled from the Land Army huts with all the girls lined up in front of her, as Miss Viner of the Wellingborough and East Rushden Child Protection and Moral Welfare Association denounced her as an example of moral wickedness. And then I suppose the next step was that we were, when she gave birth to me, we were homeless for a week, and then she went to the local priest, Father Oates, to have me baptised. And he told her that you must place this child of sin in a convent orphanage, and the child must go on to Catholic adopters, otherwise you will burn in hell forever and there can be no forgiveness. And so I was accordingly placed in one of the infamous Bon Secours convent orphanages. So you see how my Chiron was clicked into place. And what did it lead to in my life? Well, indeed, I'd say my Mars was substantially trashed by Chiron. I think an underlying factor is that in the convent orphanages, the babies were stacked in 4 high rows of cradles, with the vertical lines spreading across the whole wall in the orphans' ward. And the point is, they used the Bircher-Benner method of feeding, which means it can only be